1. I am an international student who moved to Europe back in September. Living in the university dorm, I had to share my room with a senior. She is from another nationality. It was my third Sunday here, and she asked me when was the last time I took a shower. I said on Friday, but she started saying that you are lying. You never take a shower, neither change clothes and smell really bad. I tried explaining to her that you have some confusion. The problem must be in the room, but not in me. I don't have any hygiene issues, but she didn't listen, instead proceeds to scream at me for 15 to 20 minutes, saying how I have made her life miserable by my smell. She can't come in the room because of me. Everyone in the kitchen also says I smell really bad, which was later discovered to be made up, etc. And she started crying. I didn't respond to her because I was shocked. I also started crying and just went out of the room. That was the very first fight, and from then on, every single week it was something new. Let me mention one of the few. She once brought the cleaning mop and started saying, "I am not your maid, you should clean the room too." I said that you don't need to say it like that. I already do. I am an extremely organized person with OCD and can't work in a messy environment. She again started that I am lying, and I don't know how to clean, and also asked me to clean the fridge from inside out every single day, and that I should clean in the morning. I used to in the afternoon because of my class schedule. I clearly said to her that I clean the best possible I can. If you still have problems, I can't do anything, and neither can I follow your schedule. I accidentally shut the door too hard because of the wind. I got a whole lecture on how I disrespected her by doing that, and I should never disrespect her ever again. We have to change the dustbin shopper and put it outside our door. When I came initially, I might have forgotten 1 or 2 times since I was new, and she asked me that we should take turns. I said sure and never forgot again. But then I started noticing that she isn't changing the shopper anymore. I changed 4 or 5 times, and eventually I decided to ask her how she has been pointing out stuff when it comes to me. I came back from the Halloween party at my university club at night and asked her to please change the shopper. I have done it a few times, guess what? She had the audacity to say, "Why are you being so rude to me? You hurt my feelings by your words. You don't have any manners. You should be kind to people." I said to her that, "Girl, it's you who's been rude to me," and she was, "No, I am a kind person." Eventually, I said, "Okay, yes, you are," just to finish the discussion. But instead she started laughing and said, "I am happy I wanted to make you angry and am able to," which clearly shows she wasn't changing it on purpose. During our first fight, she also mentioned that her previous roommate also made the room miserable by bringing used washroom tissues into the room and throwing them in the dustbin so the room would smell bad. It was weird for me, but I didn't pay much attention. During the Halloween party, I got to know who her previous roommate was. Her previous roommate told me that she was only able to live with her for a month and had to change her room, and the used washroom tissue is a lie. She would take 10 phone calls a day and practically scream that it would feel that she was fighting on the calls too. Can't confirm that, as she was speaking Arabic. One day, at around 11 p.m., I was studying and she started a call again. I asked her to continue the call outside because I am studying. She said no. The first time I decided to be mean and just blasted a movie on Netflix. She of course cursed at me, but after that I decided it's enough, and to talk to the dormitory management. After every fight she would bring up that I should leave the room, but I would always say that it's you who has so many problems. I'm fine with everything, but that day I decided it was enough. It was my first time living away from home, and considering moving to a different continent is more than difficult enough, it was so toxic to have to justify yourself on the most random thing every week. All I did in those 3 months was cry every second day. But anyway, the next day I went to the dormitory management. They said that they need time to figure out because there's no free space available. She somehow got to know that I talked to the management that day and came and started saying that she will take 100 calls a day if she wants. Bring her friend how many times she wants. She only has one friend. He would always be around the room coming in and out. Because I bring my friends in the room, I max brought a fellow classmate 2 times. Didn't have a single friend back then because I was so traumatized. During that conversation, she also called the student coordinator in the room. and that day, I fought back but let me mention some of the highlights. She claimed I followed her to the washroom to see her undressed. I was confused as to what she was referring, so she's married, I don't know, to someone from her country, and her husband wanted to see her, so she goes to the washroom shower area to have a video call, and apparently I had followed her. First, I didn't know that day she was doing this because she speaks in Arabic to her family. Second, even if I knew, why on earth would I do that? If I was a guy, it might have made sense, but still I would never. She said, "You know I can sue you for that." She then claimed I am not a good Muslim because I don't cover my hair properly. I take a headscarf, and yes, it's not perfect, but she doesn't even take any. She is also a Muslim. So, it's out of my mind how she can judge me when she doesn't even try. I am not a good Muslim because I go to parties. I told her not to comment on my religious affairs again. I mentioned to her that some people who came into our room said how clean my side is. She commented, "It must be people from your country that are dirty like you." There is no one from my country who ever came into my room. I screamed at her to never comment on my country again. We have a shared kitchen for the floor. Everyone cooks there. She had an electric cooking plate in the room. I only cooked once there, but decided to never again because of how strong the food smell would become. She cooked almost every lunch in the room, in fact, once tuna, too. Never said anything, but she was asking me to eat in the kitchen because apparently the room is not for eating. My food smells bad. I can confidently say that we have one of the best cuisines in the world. And I also need to put spices in the cupboard, not shelves, because they smell. Initially I was laughing at everything she was saying. I was trying hard to fight back, but she would barely let me talk. 30 minutes of her again screaming at me to the point that it became too much and I started crying. The student coordinator was there too, and he said, "You clearly can't live together and we need to change your rooms." More drama followed in changing the room. She was offered a better room, actually, but refused to go. She had to share it with a girl of her own nationality, but her argument was that she can't live with people of her nationality. In fact, all Arabs, apparently. She will only leave the room if she is given a room alone, otherwise she won't. Just tell the management that she has some issues and can't share with anyone else. Then it was decided that the management will force her to switch places with the girl next door, and the girl next door will come here. I was out of city that day, but I got to hear that she created a huge deal again, and the management was so tired of her drama that they didn't have any option but to give her a room alone. So eventually, she got a room alone, and the girl next door moved in with me. I lived with her for 2 months and never had any problem. Hellfreezer's note, I think the one thing we can draw from this story is that was the roommate's goal all along. I'm guessing here, but she might have been an only child, certainly wasn't used to sharing with people, probably spoiled by her parents, and she knew if she threw enough tantrums she'd eventually get what she wanted, which she did in the end, but at least she's not annoying the OP anymore. 2. I'm roommates with 2 of my friends, and we're all females, and our own bedroom and bathroom. This one friend of mine got a boyfriend who she met at work about 5 or 6 months ago. We got this agreement between the 3 of us to let each other know if we have guests over. Eventually, 3 or 4 days of her boyfriend visiting goes by, and we were told we'd be expected to see him come every day, which we didn't mind, but things changed. He started pretty much living there from what I see and be hearing. They go to work together, come back to the apartment together, cook and eat together, shower together, watch movies together, sleep together, and repeat. That's pretty much their daily schedule, unless they work different days or times, but he'll still come to the apartment and repeat the routine. This started bothering me after half a month because I don't remember agreeing to having a guy live with us. I had to talk to the other roommate to check if it's just me going crazy and feeling bothered by it. She told me she feels really awkward trying to just grab something to eat in the kitchen, since they're usually in the living room watching movies, till late or when they knock out on the couch. Honestly, we don't even interact with him, but for some reason it just really bothers us. Probably because his presence of being there every day. Even if not every day, it already feels like every day in all these past 5 or 6 months. After some thinking, I had finally had a chance to just casually chat with the roommate and her boyfriend, and expressed some concerns. Mainly dishes, because they would just use dishes and not wash it, and use new dishes and utensils until the sink is full. And you who haven't ate have to do the dishes for them, just so you would have something to eat with and cook with. I even had a nightmare about seeing piles of dishes in the sink and screaming at them. Waking up to reality was no better too, because the same dishes from 3 or 4 days ago were still there, making me feel angry all over again. After talking about it to them, there were slight improvements, and even better improvements when I told her, okay, it's a big pet peeve now for me. Then, later on, I eventually slipped it out that I'd prefer her boyfriend not to be there so much. She mentioned we don't even come out of our rooms and see him or interact, so she doesn't see how he's bothering us. I knew she was going to say this, which is exactly why I didn't want to say something to her about it for like 4 months, and just kept saying why don't they move in together when their lease ends. Some weeks, I would leave the apartment to my parents' place just because knowing he's in the apartment again makes me so annoyed, to the point where I would get insomnia because the thoughts and feelings stick out too well in my mind. She's also a friend of 7 or 8 years. I thought she'd notice and understand, or try to understand. After I slipped it out, she texted me in the morning last Sunday, and she figured it out with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is only sleeping on the weekends. I was happy and glad, and really appreciated it, thinking they'll stick to what they say. But then not even a week goes by and he slept over on a Thursday. I was so dumbfounded and feel like an idiot to believe that she'd stick to what she told me. It feels like a sense of betrayal. Like, are we even friends anymore? I brought it up the next day, and what explanation did I get? Sometimes things just happen, and we want to see each other or be together. That's what it sounded like to me. I told her I just can't believe she would do that. It's like she ate her own words. She then said, I didn't promise you anything, so I'm not eating my own words. Man, is that really all she understood? I broke it out to her. You didn't promise, but you did say you two figured it out, and that he'll only sleep on the weekends. Even though I'd rather he only comes over on the weekends, it seems like she just can't be without him, even though they don't want to move in together, saying they like having their own places. So I told her, he can come visit every day, just sleep only on the weekends. This feels like my last string of hope, because if she doesn't want to remember that we're close friends, at least I can have respect as a roommate, right? Our lease only allows 14 consecutive days of guests staying, so him on weekends is just around 6 to 8 days a month. Regret renewing. Got another year and some months to go. If only the future could be known ahead of time. At least now I know who isn't a good roommate to live with, and to set rules that must not be broke when living together. Hellfreezer's note. I think what's happened here, and often seems to happen in these stories, is one roommate feels more entitled to the apartment than others, and therefore the others essentially become guests in a place that they're paying for. It's like they think, well, they're the couple, they should have the run of the place, right? They're a team, you guys are just individuals. I hope you guys can work out a solution soon. 3. So this is quite a long rant I'm about to go on. I'll have to start at the beginning. So me and 2 of my boys were moving out of the dorms, and got assigned a random roommate for this apartment complex we're in. We reached out to this guy, and were asking him before we moved in what he was bringing to the apartment. You know, a very normal question to ask. He responded with, I don't know, don't really think I'm bringing anything. Okay, cool. So the 3 of us go and buy a bunch of things. Cutlery, bowls, plates, the whole 9 yards. But when he finally arrives to the house on move-in day, we find that all the cupboards are filled with pots and pans, literally everything you'd ever need. So the 3 of us collectively wasted around $500 for no reason. Come to find out, the guy's been living there for 3 years, but he lied to us about this at first, saying he only lived there the past year. Let's start getting into the issues. We have a smoking table. At the beginning of the year, we asked our random roommate if it was cool that we smoked. He said he was fine with it, doesn't bother him, that he used to. Awesome. We started out doing it on the porch, and eventually, we asked if he minded if we did it in the house. Again, he said go for it, doesn't matter to him. Awesome again. At the time, one of my 2 friends I'm living with was pledging a frat, so he wasn't home much. At the beginning of the first semester when we moved in, he hardly saw our random roommate, who I'm now going to give the name Bob. My pledging roommate would get back late, smoke with us, and get to sleep and repeat. Yada yada yada. However, at some point, Bob and my pledging boys are alone in the kitchen. Bob then goes on a speech about how his last roommate were big smokers and he absolutely hated the smell, weed in general, and a bunch of other things. And he was like, "You understand, right, because you don't smoke?" He just didn't know when he smoked. Bob is kind of a pushover. I mean, if he just told us when we'd asked, it'd be chill. I know that's not that crazy of a roommate thing, but now let's move on to the gross stuff. I brought a couch. A nice couch. This guy sleeps on it 3 to 5 nights out of the week. I often come downstairs late at night to get water and find him just in his underwear dead asleep on it, wrapped up in my blankets that I provided as a cushion cover. I eventually talked to him about it and he somewhat stopped. Then this guy got a girlfriend. I don't know how. But they began to sleep together on my couch. Now I got a girlfriend. And so do my other 2 roommates. It's okay to accidentally fall asleep on the couch watching a show every once in a while, but they made it a habit. It makes me and my other roommates' girlfriends extremely uncomfortable. We also found questionable rags next to the spot that they slept on the couch at. I really just don't want to believe it is what I think it is. Last thing on the couch situation. I bought a TV for the living room. I sometimes bring it upstairs to my room for the night when my girl comes over so that we can watch TV in bed. Nothing wrong with that, as it is literally mine, right? Wrong. Every time I've brought it upstairs and come down the next morning, he complains and asks where it's at. I've often heard his girlfriend whisper to him saying, "Why do you let him take your TV upstairs?" He lies to her and says that he owns it along with pretty much every item in our house. Moving on. Bob likes to eat 3 packets of ramen a meal. Sometimes up to twice a day. The crazy part is that this guy strains the vegetables and liquid out after cooking them, so it's just flavorless noodles. He then likes to leave his mess out for as long as he can. He loves to accumulate trash and just leave it there. The amount of times me and my roommate have come to clean up his mess is nuts. We actually have cockroaches because of it. The crazy part is when one of my roommates told him about the cockroaches, he said, "Oh, we had them last year, but they haven't really been a problem this year." No kidding. Maybe it's because we aren't slobs and give in to cleaning it all up since we don't want to live in filth. Now, if you walk out our front door, the dumpster to our townhome complex is 20 steps from it. He likes to pile things on top of it and expects someone else to take it out. I do take it out since I don't want our house to be dirty. We have 2 trash cans and we decided as an experiment. We were going to use the trash can on the right and let Bob use the trash can on the left all for himself, and see how long it takes him to fill it up and throw it out. It has been full since the 27th of February. We had spring break on March 9th and it was overflowing, and he started using the second trash can instead of just taking it out. One of my roommates confronted him about it before we left for the break, and he cleaned up everything in the kitchen. This trash can, the garbage littering our countertops, swept the floor, all while muttering and moaning and complaining under his breath, and how disgusting it all was and how it smelled bad. Like, bro, it's your mess. We have a lot of dish towels, and I decided to wash them for everyone one day. I put them through the washer, then the dryer, went upstairs to do homework, and come back to get them. But he had just dumped them on the floor. Clean towels, now dirty again. Talk about the bare minimum. We had baby roaches, which are all grown up now. 4. I'm a 25-year-old man now, and I find myself in my 4th co-housing. I have lived with different kinds of people. I'm done with it now. I just can't believe how all these people are lacking when it comes to living in a place. My first 3 co-housings were with people I knew and liked. I never could have imagined they were such incapable imbeciles when it comes to absolute vital basics. Cleaning, general communal effort, life hygiene. In 5 years, I have barely seen it. Here is a summary about the households I co-housed in. I left details out, I just want to vent a bit. Okay, by the time I moved in with my first roommate, we were both 20. so maybe I couldn't expect the boy to be mature yet. But literally, I'll never forget the day I came back home late, and the guy knocks on my door asking me what's for dinner. It was the first week of our co-housing. I basically cooked the first days, and the guy assumed I suddenly became his mom. The stores were already closed, I had already eaten outside, he didn't know what to do, and it didn't really evolve through that year. Okay. Second co-housing. 3 friends, including my best friend, and I decide to live together. Finding a place was tough. We stumbled on this really shady place that needed a lot of work. They loved it. My gut said nope. They all convinced me it had so much potential and we could make the place really sick. I gave it a chance, mostly for them, and also it was about time we had a place. So we finally move in. First 2 months, no sign of my best friend. He went through one of his bad phases, so he stayed at his mom's, didn't have a phone, so we just had to figure it out. The other one was on holiday, so it was me and the third roomie who had to do all the work. The place was huge and was left by squatters. When the other 2 joined us, all they basically did was trash the place, and never did anything useful. I could feel myself quickly go on a downward spiral there and decided to move out after 3 months. I kinda remained friends with them. A year later, the place still wasn't sick. Okay. I'm desperately looking for a new place. I can't afford anything by myself, student, and can't think of anyone to move in with. When suddenly my barber happens to look for a roommate. He is 56, and genuinely a really chill, cool, and decent person. I really like him. God just saved me. Turns out he's an alcoholic and pretty much of a mess. Never cleans, lazy, and had a passion of deep frying in the house. Meh. One Saturday I woke up, called my dad, and asked if he could move me to his place the same day. I packed my stuff and I was gone. Minimalism rocks. I managed to stay for 2 years, though. Okay. By now I'm 24. All I wanted was to find a place where I could just feel good. I'm still studying, so no choice but roommates again. At this point, the only box they have to check is responsibility. I end up in a really nice house with 4 fully mature-looking women. They're all almost 30. They seemed a little simple, but I was also happy I would finally live with people with a decent lifestyle. Once again, no cleaning, messy, poor life hygiene, neglecting all the basics of the basics, only giggling around way too loud, living in their stupid princess worlds. I very soon gave up asking them to clean or to turn off lights, heaters, closing doors when they are literally shouting, locking the front door, taking out the trash, etc., etc. I don't understand. Reading this myself, I almost sound like I'm the rigid, military-styled, over-disciplined entrepreneur freak guru. I'm not. I didn't even grow up in a disciplined home. I just, from the moment I stood on my own feet, understood that things were not going to happen by themselves. And I enjoyed becoming responsible for myself. Even animals take care of their nests, so I don't consider myself particularly special here. I'm making a huge problem out of this, and I feel like I should have been able to spend that energy on more important problems. Anyway, the time has finally come for me to write this down. I told my roommates they can start looking for someone to replace me. I'm working by now, and have saved enough to travel while I keep working. I became a pretty sour person. I don't like or trust people as much as I used to. I hope traveling will unsour me. Thanks for listening. 5. Okay, I'm not one to complain about my life to strangers, so bear with me. And please ask questions because I know my emotions will run high rewriting this. A little backstory. First, I met my childhood best friend in 5th grade. We met in 5th and have been in and out of each other's lives just the same as the next person, due to life and work. On my side of the fence, I got married and had 2 boys young, like 18 when my first was born, young, which resulted in a divorce in 2016, and that's where I started my life over. He at that point was married with 7 kids, 6 from one and 1 from a previous, and it was violently clear that those kids were born in hopes of fixing a dead marriage. So, without making this an hour-long rant, we will fast forward to last year, around November, when he began messaging me about needing a roommate because he and his now ex-wife were split, and she took everything out of the house and left him without a car. On my side, the fiancé and I have been living with family for about 3 months at this point, so we could get out of the nasty trailer she got conned into by the leasing agent. We both talked about it with him and got the info that we knew to be the truth at the time. We needed from him so that my fiancé and I could make a decision. That following December, we pulled the trigger on moving in so that we could land the appropriate work for my fiancé as she is a travel nurse. We got moved in pretty quickly and started working out bills and rent, which we covered the $2,000 he was behind on both, because his ex-wife left him stranded. Well, we came to find out after getting in contact with her a month later that the rent was a month behind when she left because he got fired from his job for oversleeping. Now we have come to find out who he is behind closed doors, and all I can say is never let friends move in or vice versa. This creature that is living inside the kid I met back in 1999-2000 is not my best friend. I don't know how he became this way, but he will be the cause of this friendship to implode. It's easier to list stuff than it is to write it out, so he uses the bathroom and does not flush, leaves piles of cat mess in his room. We have 6 cats combined. Does not leave his room, ever. Let his male cat terrorize his kittens because he is jealous of them. The cat is jealous. Neglects his children, the 2 that come around when they are over, by sleeping while they are there. His tax money is gone, and no bills have been paid ahead, and he does not have a vehicle still. At this point, if I keep going, I will make him one of the most hated people on this site. Remember, kids, do not let friends move in or vice versa. Rant over. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, Episode 10. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button. If you would like early access to these videos, then you can support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store. And if you really enjoyed today's video, why not leave a tip? Do that by clicking on the little heart with the $sign near the video. You don't have to do any of that, but I greatly appreciate it. Okay, I don't think there's any other bits of business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, in relation to one of the stories there, I think it was story number 3? I think it was 3. How do you eat your ramen? If you eat ramen, not everyone does, of course. Personally, I'm one of the people, I'll cook my ramen, and I don't really like the broth, so once you've cooked them, the flavor's in the noodles anyway, so I'll drain it off. Maybe put a little sprinkle of cheese on there. I don't eat ramen every day, it's just a now and again thing for me. But yeah, I generally will, once I've flavored the noodles while cooking them, I don't bother with the broth mix. I just don't like it. So why don't you let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And I believe this question was in relation to what kind of pickles do you like. And today's answer of the day comes from Moonlight545. Pickled eggs can go either way, but when they're good, ooh, they're good. I dig all kinds of odd foods, pickled, capers, cactus, kraut, beets, and so much more. I recently ordered and tried pickled cockles. Tasted like I ate a big ol' scoop of fish poo. Tasted like a nasty fish tank smells. Someone said there's a process before eating. I may try again. It was a pack of 3 on Amazon. I'm not sure if I've had those pickled. I do have, well, now and again I will buy a little jar of pickled mussels, which are very nice indeed. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.